Chapter 95. The Tyrant's 10 Capital Crimes. Jiang Ziya ordered his men to bury Ying Pobai on a high mound. When they had finished, Jiang ordered his generals to prepare for another attack. King Zhou was at a conference with all his ministers when it was reported that General Ying Pobai had been slain in the Zhou camp. Ying Chengxiu, son of Ying Pobai, rushed forward. How can they slay a messenger? This goes against custom. I'm willing to give my life in revenge for my father. Your loyalty is praiseworthy, but you must be very careful. King Zhou said. Ying Chengxiu immediately left the city to launch an attack on the Zhou army. He was met by Jiang Wenhuan. Is that Ying Chengxiu? Your father offended Commander Jiang Ziya. I had to set him straight. Why have you come to meet your death? Ying Chengxiu swore back at him. You bastard! Don't you know that when two nations are at war, their messengers are free from all charges? Didn't you realize that my father was sent by His Majesty for peace talks? How could you kill him? I can't live with my father's assassin under the same sky. I must cut you up into 1,000 pieces. Ying Chengxiu spurred his horse up to attack Jiang Wenhuan, and Jiang resisted with his cutlass. Their combat raged on for over 30 rounds, and Jiang Wenhuan showed himself to be a great general. Ying Chengxiu could simply not compare. He was slashed to death and tumbled from his horse. Jiang Wenhuan dismounted, cut off Ying's head, and returned to see Jiang Ziya. Jiang was delighted at his victory. When he heard that Ying Chengxiu's head had been hung on a bamboo pole, King Zhou grew even more frightened and turned again to his ministers for help. As they were discussing the situation, it was reported that the Zhou army was launching attacks at all 4 gates. Before the king had a chance to open his mouth, Lu Rinji left his line and said, I'll go up on the city wall in person and try my best to defend the city. With the king's approval, Lu Rinji left to defend the city wall. As the capital was so strongly defended, Jiang Ziya finally ordered his troops to withdraw. He called a military conference with all his generals and said, Lu Rinji is a brave general. It will be difficult for us to take the city by force. We must think of a good plan. We can use our magic to enter the city and attack from both within and without at the same time. We won't need to keep fighting outside the city walls. All the disciples suggested. Oh, no. That would result in a terrible massacre of the people. They live so close to the tyrant and have already suffered much from his ruthlessness. We must not harm them anymore. We've come to rescue them and not hurt them. Jiang Ziya would hear nothing of their idea. You're right. You always put the people's interests first. The disciples replied. The people must hate the tyrant very much. He's cut off the legs of innocent men and gouged out the bellies of pregnant women. Wouldn't it be better if we send them notes on arrows to tell them of our arrival and pet them stage an uprising? Jiang Ziya proposed. Your plan is excellent. Let's do it at once, Commander. They agreed wholeheartedly. Jiang Ziya wrote a draft of the note and ordered his secretaries to make hundreds of copies. The Zhou soldiers then shot arrows with the attached notes into the city. Some fell on the city walls, others on roofs. And still others landed in the streets. The note read like this. As heaven has willed, we are united with all the dukes and have come to attack the tyrant and rescue the innocent people. The virtuous king of West Qi is worried that if we attack the city directly, you, who have suffered so long already, would only face further hardship in a battle that would burn jade and stone as one. We have given up our original plan to attack the tyrant for the sake of the people, so we beg you all to do what you can to surrender the city. Take action immediately. When they read the note, all the soldiers and people in Zhaoge exclaimed, King Wu is so kind and Commander Jiang so fair, but our tyrant is ruthless. We all hate him anyway, and we'd be going against the will of heaven if we don't help overthrow him. Everyone in the capital was stirred. At the 3rd watch that night, cries were heard everywhere and the 4 gates were opened wide. Soldiers and townspeople rushed out, shouting, "We welcome our real master." Their shouts and cheers echoed like thunder. Jiang Ziya was resting in meditation when he heard the news. With great delight, he called in his men. Only 50,000 soldiers are allowed to enter each gate. The rest must remain camped outside the city. Killing and plundering are strictly prohibited. Anyone taking from the people will be decapitated at once according to military law. The Zhou army marched slowly and orderly into Zhaoge. They set camp right before the palace gate. King Zhou was drinking with Daji in the palace when he suddenly heard the cries outside. He was astonished. Where could such noise come from? How frightening! He exclaimed. Before long, a guard came in to report what had happened outside and told him that all the dukes were camped just before the palace gate. King Zhou hurriedly dressed and went into court to confer with his civil and military officials. I never expected that the soldiers and people would be so treacherous. They handed Zhaoge over to the enemy. What shall we do? He asked anxiously. As we've already lost the capital, we might as well fight it out to the last. It's certainly better than waiting for our death. Lu Rinji and some other ministers said, 2011. You're right. King Zhou said. He ordered his royal army to meet the enemy troops. Jiang Ziya was holding a conference with the dukes at the very same time. Dear dukes, now that we've entered the capital, we must fight a decisive battle to settle the matter once and for all. Let's give our best in this final struggle. He cried. We're ready to sacrifice our lives for the common cause. They answered as one. A roar of cannons, war cries, and drums burst out like thunder from the Zhou camp. The royal Gataman came in and reported to King Zhou. The dukes demand to see you at the palace gate. King Zhou, in full armor, ordered his guards to carry the insignia of rank in procession, with Lu Rinji as his protector and Lei Kun and Lei Pang on his left and right. He rode on his jaunty horse, held a long-handled cutlass, and followed the dragon and phoenix banners out of the palace gate. With a roar of cannon fire, the Zhou generals marched out under two great banners. Jiang Ziya led the nobles in a square battle formation. They all looked smart and gallant. Jiang rode his nondescript horse under a great red parasol in the center. He was followed by Jiang Wenhuan, the East Grand Duke, Shun, the South Grand Duke, Chong Yingluan, the North Grand Duke, and King Wu, the original West Grand Duke. Each was covered by a red satin parasol. Jiang Ziya caught sight of King Zhou, who was wearing a high phoenix wing helmet and yellow gold chain armor. He stepped forward, bowed, and said, How do you do, Your Majesty? I beg your pardon that I can't offer you a full salutation as I am fully armored. Are you Jiang Sheng, also known as Jiang Ziya? King Zhou asked. Yes, I am. You were my minister once. Why did you flee to West Qi to rebel and attack the royal army? You have invaded my territories and now occupy my passes. You slew the royal messenger and still refuse to repent. You must die today. I won't return until I have your head. King Zhou said, You have not been a proper ruler. How can you expect us to honor you as the king? Jiang Ziya replied, Tell me what crimes I've committed. How can you accuse me of being improper without any proof? Jiang Ziya turned so all could hear. Dear dukes of the nation, I will now describe King Zhou's capital crimes. He cried loudly. All the nobles moved in closely so they could hear what Jiang Ziya announced. Jiang Ziya said in a big voice, Dear dukes, dear colleagues, please listen carefully to the 10 crimes. First, the king's foremost duty is to rule the people by the constitution that has been drafted with his wisdom according to the will of heaven. A king must act as the parent of the people and love them above all. But you have only devoted yourself to wine and women. You blaspheme heaven, forsake the people, and pay no heed to your dynasty. You have often bragged, I have the people. I am destined to be the ruler by fate. You distance yourself from proper ministers, trust the bootlickers, ruin ethical relationships, and disdain virtue. You have been the most wicked king in the dynasty since ancient times. This is your first capital crime. Second, the queen was regarded by all as the kind mother of the nation. She was virtuous and loved by all. How could you believe Daji's lies and sever your love of her? You cruelly gouged out her eyes, burned her hands, and caused her to die. How could you depose her and set up that lewd concubine as your queen, copulating with her day and night? This is your second capital crime. Third, the crown prince was the successor to the throne. He was respected by the people, but you believed the lies against him. You sent Chao Lei and Chao Tian to assassinate the crown prince and his brother with your sword. You completely ignored what your ancestors have done to create this dynasty. This is your third capital crime. Fourth, the loyal high ministers are the trunk and strong branches of the nation, but you have shown no concern whatsoever for them. You disdained them and treated them unkindly. You cruelly burnt them to death on the red-hot burning pillars or imprisoned them as slaves. Du Yuanxian, Meibo, Shangrong, Jiaoge, Weizi, Jizi, and Bigan merely admonished you as they should have, trying to bring you back onto the right track. How could you treat them so ruthlessly? You severed the ethical relationship between a king and his ministers. This is your fourth capital crime. Fifth, honesty is the foundation of human existence. It's the most powerful weapon a king needs to rule his nation. How could you believe the plot of Daji and the bootlickers? You tricked the dukes into coming to see you and minced up Jiang Huanchu, the East Grand Duke, and beheaded a Chongyu, the South Grand Duke. They were completely innocent, and the nobles lost all faith in you. This is your fifth capital crime. Sixth, the law must be justly applied and punishment fairly meted out. But you were deluded by Daji and accepted her wicked idea of building the brass-burning pillars to roast faithful officials in a cruel death. You also followed Daji's suggestion of digging a large pit filled with poisonous serpents. You had your palace maids pushed in to feed the serpents, causing their innocent souls to wail and their bodies to fill the air with a foul stink. This is your sixth capital crime. Seventh, natural resources and national wealth are always limited. They should not be spent extravagantly. But you insisted on building high towers, terraces, a wine pond, and a meat forest. The National Treasure House and the people's own resources have been depleted. In addition, you allowed Chonghohu to exploit the poor people through bribery. A household with 3 adults was free from conscription, but a single-parent family was press-ganged if no bribe was paid. The people's daily life has degenerated, and thefts are a daily occurrence. All this has been encouraged and promoted by you. This is your 7th capital crime. 8th, chastity is our strongest defense against violation of the rights. As master of the whole nation, the king must watch himself closely. But you were induced by the coquettish Daji to trick Huang Feihu's wife into seeing you in the star-picking mansion. There you attempted to insult the wife of your minister, forcing that chaste lady to commit suicide by jumping from the high building. Concubine Huang of the West Palace came straightaway to admonish you, but you threw her from the balcony and killed her. You are shameless. This is your 8th capital crime. 9th, good conduct is of utmost importance. The king must not act recklessly. But you did away with innocent people for your own personal pleasure. You broke the legs of 2 men and cut open pregnant women. Why should these innocent citizens die so tragically? This is your 9th capital crime. 10th, a king must exercise restraint in pleasure. But you have taken Hu Shimei, that lewd sprite woman, to join you and Daji in the happy terrace. You drink and copulate with no thought for other matters. You believed what Daji said and drank soup cooked with the kidneys of virgin lads to increase your sexual drive. You cruelly and savagely destroyed these young people for your own selfish desire. This is your 10th capital crime. Though I may speak clearly and without reserve, you are unwilling to repent and act in a proper manner. You have caused millions of innocent people and soldiers to die. We have now come, by order of heaven, with King Wu of Zhou to punish you as you deserve." Listening to Jiang Ziya's list of his 10 capital crimes, King Zhou became greatly enraged. His mouth grew numb, and his eyes stared straight ahead. Suddenly he heard the dukes roar with one voice. "This tyrant must die." Jiang Wenhuan rushed up first and shouted loudly, "King Zhou, don't run away. Here I come." King Zhou saw a great general in gold armor, and a red robe on a white horse, with a long-handled cutlass running straight at him, yelling, "My father was sliced to mincemeat and my sister, your queen, had her eyes gouged out and her hands burned. We have come with King Wu and Jiang Ziya to punish this tyrant with death to avenge them." A Shun rode up beside him on his green hare horse and yelled, "Brother Jiang, let me slay the tyrant with my own hands. This damned tyrant ruthlessly killed my father, who was innocent. How can heaven allow you to live any longer?" A Shun swore at King Zhou. He attacked with his lance, and the tyrant parried with his cutlass. Jiang Wenhuan and Chong Yingluan spurred their horses in to join the combat with King Zhou. The tyrant was able to resist the 3 dukes with his cutlass. King Wu watched the scene from his jaunty horse and sighed. His Majesty did not conduct himself properly, forcing the dukes to come and take him on in combat. It's all mixed up, as if one wore shoes on the head and a coronet on the feet. Ah, how terrible it is. King Wu rode over to Jiang Ziya and said, "The dukes ought to help His Majesty onto the proper track. How can they fight him, ignoring the fact that he is the king and they are his ministers? You must have heard the 10 capital crimes I just announced. He is a tyrant and has been discarded by heaven and earth. Everyone has the right to curse and attack him. How can we disobey the will of heaven?" Jiang Ziya replied, "Though he does not act properly, his ministers must not fight with him directly." King Wu argued, but Jiang Ziya would not give in. "Oh, Your Highness! How can you be so obstinate? Let's order the soldiers to beat the drums then," he said with a shrug of his shoulders. When the drums were beaten, 50 more nobles rushed out to join the fight. They surrounded the tyrant in a large circle. What happened to King Zhou? Please read the next chapter if Yan wish to find out.